Yeah, he's not. He's just like the rest, man.
It's scary. Man, instead of doing claps, do you see that? We need to do it with an opening of a can.
Yeah.
Look at
did
that.
Did that show up?
Yeah, full, like a clap would.
Oh, yeah.
It spiked the same way.
Oh, also, that reminds me, Paul, when you do the clap, like wait a couple of seconds before you start, because there's a lot of times where you do this
And just go right in.
and then you're like, welcome, ladies, and I'm like, that's rough to cut right there.
You're right. You're right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies. We are quarantining ourselves in my house. Jesse and Johnny have been here for 2 straight weeks, quarantining in my house, in my basement, because they can't leave.
It's nutty.
Yeah, man.
No, I'm just kidding. But welcome and thank you to everyone who watches our videos. We greatly appreciate you. We're going to hit home. We've done a lot of the coronavirus lately, done a lot of government issues and stuff like that. And there really, honestly, isn't much else to talk about. This has captured the world. It's what everyone is thinking about, talking about. Whenever you're on the shitter, you're on your phone, you're looking about. That's just, it is what it is right now. So we're gonna take a different approach tonight.
It's a lot like that fucking Super Bowl halftime where Janet Jackson's titty came out.
Yeah, you're not talking about anything except Janet Jackson's titty.
COVID-19 is literally Janet Jackson's fucking titty falling out at halftime. There's nothing else to talk about.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. For anybody who remembers that, I can't even tell you what teams that played that year. Who give a fuck who held up the Lombardi? It was Justin Timberlake literally pulled Janet Jackson's extremely pierced nipple fucking out of her shit. I remember seeing that, and I remember like being a kid seeing that, and my parents were like, tried to cover my eyes. It's too late. It was too late, man. Everybody saw it. We saw that. I remember it was like a sun. It was like a full sun thing, like pierced. I'm like, that's aggressive. That can't be. I've had pierced nipples before.
Ever since that day, little 12-year-old Jesse was like, man, pierced nipples, that's
pierced nipples. That's where it's at. Shout out to Janet Jackson, though. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, in light of last week's podcast, we have a very avid follower or listener that listens to Talk Junkies, and he kind of put us in check on some information.
He did, specifically something that I had said whenever I was referencing a Carnegie, and I had the last name right, but I said Dale Carnegie, but the reason why I said Dale Carnegie is because I read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a fantastic book that everyone should read. So I'm still shouting out Dale Carnegie, but who I meant to reference was Andrew Carnegie, was the guy that I talked about last week, as far as the guy, yes, the steel guy who believed in wealth should not continue on to the next generation because they never had to earn it. A lot of it needs to go back into just the general community. So I want to shout out Bobby. You said Bobby, your cousin. So thank you very much, Bobby. I appreciate that. And anytime you hear anything on this podcast where you're like, man, these motherfuckers don't know what they're talking about, please, let us know. Yeah. Let us know, because that's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
So thank you, Bobby, very much for letting me.
You saw he said that Dale Carnegie, actually, his gravesite is in Belton.
Which is weird,
Missouri.
which I did not know. Yeah. I did not know. I bought this book. I bought this book probably about 3 years ago, and read it almost within the same day that I bought it because it was recommended by a motivational speaker. I'm trying to think of his name now. But this is a really good book. It's a really good motivational book to read. Dale Carnegie is a great person, but that's not who I should have been referencing in the last podcast. So thank you, Bobby. I hope you keep listening. I hope that you will
He's listened to every single podcast we've had.
Continue to listen, man.
Well, Jesse fucked up a Carnegie, so now he's out.
Yeah, no, I know. I just, I realize I lose a little bit of credibility throughout that. But I just wanted to show everybody, that's why I said Dale Carnegie, is because of this book, which everyone should read. It takes about 4 to 6 hours to read, and it's really good.
People at home now are like, wait, we can correct them? And then just
absolutely.
Massive amounts of comments.
Correct
We're
us.
all about that, man. Yeah,
man, we are
imperfect
human beings, and I appreciate people like Bobby bringing those issues to my attention. That way I can correct them. And I will humbly say that I apologize. I should have said Andrew Carnegie.
I was surprised that you even read the comments, man.
I actually did.
Yeah, he did. He shed the light. I try to stay away away from it because
I don't. It's more so that I happen to see the comments when You're the one who. Paul is the one. If you write comments, most likely Paul is the one who's going to see them, and then I'll see them later sometimes. But really, I was just checking out like the analytics side, the numbers and everything on the video, and I was like, oh, comment from this Robert person.
Got you. Well, in light of everything that's happening, I think what's truly important to the everyday hardworking American is the stimulus package and what it entails and what it's about. And I think everyone knows on Friday it was passed. President Trump signed it into law that we're all going to be receiving some sort of stimulus. You know, $1,200 per person. If you're a married couple, $2,400. However many kids you have, it's $500 each. What are your thoughts? Is that enough money? Is the stimulus necessary? Like, what's really going on with it?
That's a valid man. It's hard to say. Those questions are really hard to answer. Is it enough money? And then also, what was the other one? Is it enough money and is it needed?
Right. Correct.
It's difficult because they're giving it to like every person, not just people who are unemployed because they didn't have quote unquote essential jobs. Like it's going to every individual. So I could say like there are people who have lost their jobs or got laid off from companies that definitely need it. There are people who, I mean, it goes all around though, because you've got landlords who aren't getting paid now because their tenants lost their jobs and they can't pay their landlords, and landlords got to get their money too. Like, so I get why it's going to everybody, but as for like, if it's the correct amount, I have no idea. That depends. Every individual is literally different. You can't.
It's in my opinion, it's not enough.
Depends how long this lasts too, because if this is actually over April 24th, then yeah, I think it's fine.
You think $1,200 for?
I guess I'm thinking about me though specifically. I'm like, I can make $1,200 last.
Well, and so let's throw this out here real quick, because I would have to look into this, but I'm pretty sure that
it should be more for the amount the bill was.
In Missouri, you get, I think it's up to like $400 on unemployment. You know, in Missouri or Kansas, a little bit less.
I thought it was 1/3 of your
right.
1/3.
But I think like the max in Missouri is like 400 or 500.
I did not know that.
I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyways, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. What I've heard from people who've looked into unemployment with people who make nice or decent salaries. And now the federal government is coming in and they're bumping it up $600. So if you're getting $400 from Missouri, $600 from federal, that's $1,000 a week. That's $4,000 a month. On top of a stimulus that you're going to get in 3 weeks, that's, you know, $5,200. I mean, like at that point, you're making $75K salary.
Well, it's only for 1 month, but yeah.
But that's what the salary would be, is right around $75,000 for that 1 month. That's what someone who makes that amount of money would make.
Is that 75,000?
Yeah.
Quick maths.
Or 70,000. Sorry.
I really wish that we had Pat on, and shout out to Pat with Truth, Money, Freedom. We really wanted to have him on with this podcast because I think he would bring in a really good and shed some really good light on what we're about to talk about. But me personally, I will not be claiming unemployment. There is and I get it. I understand why people are claiming unemployment and doing it. Me personally, I don't have to. The stimulus is actually enough to get me by, but I've put myself in a really good financial scenario as far as my living goes. But whenever you get down to it, there has to be some negative side to claiming unemployment. I wish I knew more about this, but there's always something bad about claiming unemployment and then having employers look back and like look at the fact that you had to go into that.
I can't say that there's necessarily anything 100% negative about it, because I don't know. I'm not educated enough on the subject, to be honest. But I do know that there's a reason that on certain paperwork when you're applying, and I can't think of what it is. I can't think if it's for school loans.
It's probably loans.
It's probably loans and stuff, but they ask.
It probably fucks with your credit.
That's definitely a question. Like, hey, have you ever been on a government-assisted program, such as, you know, WIC or this or that, or unemployment was one that was on there? And I'm like, so it has to affect something. It's not like it's documented somewhere that you were on it, and then that has to change something. It's got to be relevant in some way, or else that question would not be on forms.
It's weird. Claiming unemployment has always scared me to do that. I remember partially attempting it back when I was like 17 because I was like super ignorant and I was in between jobs and I really didn't even need to do it. But I was like, oh, unemployment, right? Like free money.
Free money.
But it ended up not going through because I had to do like too much work. You have to show like that you're attempting to get jobs at other places, and I was like, man, I'm just trying to smoke weed in my fucking in my parents' basement. I was like, that's way too much work. Back when I was 17, not lately. So that's like 13 years ago. But what they need to do is, I don't think they should back up the unemployment, but individuals need to get more than $1,200.
So let's break it down. $2 trillion deal, right? $2 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's 31 or 37 million people, right around that amount of people that are eligible for the stimulus that are going to receive the stimulus.
That seems like a really low amount, by the way.
Well, I mean,
out of 350 million people in the United States, only 37 million are...
Yeah. I mean, 320 million people in the United States that are documented.
I thought it was 350. Either way,
yeah,
320
that are documented, and they say that right around 70% of people don't even have $400 or more on a week-to-week basis.
80%.
Yeah, or 80%. So yeah, I think that number would be higher too.
Yeah, because 31 million doesn't make... Okay, I realize you got to add in, like, children. I get that. Kids are going to take up a lot of that.
Yeah.
Anybody below the age of 18. But you have a lot of people over the age of 18. You also are not going to have that many people. You're going to have people making over $100,000, obviously. Not 50%, not even 40%. Like, that number's got to be smaller. They got... If you make over... All it takes, by the way, to be in the top 1%... People talk about this a lot. They hear the 1%ers. If you make over an average of, I can't remember the exact number. I know for a fact that it was in the 400,000 range. I don't know if it's 425,000, 475,000, 460, whatever. But if you make over that 400 and something $1,000 a year, you're technically part of the 1%. You are in the 1%. People always think billionaires, millionaires, all this. I guess at that point you would be a millionaire making that much a year.
Oh yeah, 3 years. Boom.
Yeah. But if you make over 400 and whatever thousand, you're in 1%. So that means if you're making over 100,000, you got to be in what? 20%, 10%. So there's no way that only 31 million people out of 320 million are receiving this stimulus package.
Okay.
Well, in light of that, but regardless of how many people are getting it, what are the implications of the actual stimulus? Like, people they see the short term, but what's the long term gain, Jesse? What's the long term? Like, is this free money? Are we going to have to pay this back?
100%. So whenever people think, oh man, I get $1,200 back from the government, it's not free money. Each of us have to pay a certain amount back, basically, which the math is, in the beginning, is fairly simple to start doing, but in the long run, obviously gets a little, misconstrued here and there as far as the actual amount that we'll be paying. But it's coming out of your pocket. This isn't not free money. We are very much, whenever the government passes a stimulus like this, the money comes from us, the hardworking people, the middle class, mainly the middle class people who are paying for the stimulus. And if you break down the numbers and see where the money is going, it starts to become a little frustrating there, because you're only getting $1,200 back. We did the math earlier, and it's a rough estimate.
It was real rough trying to figure out these.
Super rough. So I don't, and I'm gonna just say this straight up, that we did not go hard into this math at all. This was very basic.
Normally I do, because I'm a math person, so I normally go into a lot of detail with it. But this one was really hard to.
So just saying that it's probably going to cost each individual, as of right, and this could be completely misconstrued at all, so don't take my word for this, but it's probably going to cost us $10,000 each as an individual.
A little less than that, like $8,700.
But I was taking into account some other things. So we'll round up. We'll say $9,000. We'll say the whole stimulus package will cost each individual American around $9,000, which we don't physically hurt our bank accounts. That's not how it works. It happens over a longer period of time, which is what a lot of people don't understand, as far as how it affects inflation and everything else. But what you're really getting is, I'd say, basically 12%. Like 12% of the stimulus package goes to individuals who are actually in need and in help. And then you have another 88% that's going to not so.
You're talking about the corporations?
Things. Yeah.
Let me keep going at it. I'm going to find the actual numbers, because those are public. You can find out how much goes to the corporations and all that.
This is my whole thing. So I'm going to go off on a little rant here. Right after the quarantine happened, I had a really good feeling that cruise lines were going to get bailed out, and I bought into Carnival Cruise Lines, which the ticker is CCL. On paper, they have about $500 million in cash, which is a lot more than other cruise lines. Whenever I was looking into investing into the stock, I had a good idea that they'd be bailed out just because of the bullshit that we have to deal with. I didn't know it was going to be as bad as it is now. So me sitting back as a partial investor, like I mean, I dropped like $100. I dropped $100 into the stock. That's all it was. But to sit back and then watch the day that the stimulus came out, that cruise lines were going to be bailed out along with airlines, which I think is ridiculous, even though I have, not to pat my own back here, but I had a good understanding that, man, any major company with that amount of money can be able to put some money into pockets of politicians and get them into the stimulus, which is exactly what happened. You can prove me wrong all you want. I don't think you'll be able to do it, but good luck with it. The dividend yield for a shareholder is now almost at 14%, which is extremely high. So not to get into too much detail about how all that works, but basically what's happening is bad shit happened in the world. Every person, me, you, the person watching, Paul and Johnny, all are going to have to pay for the stimulus. And a bunch of this money is going to the cruise lines, and everybody who's on the board who holds majority share portions is about to be paid a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, they're going to make more profits than just a normal, physical year. They will be paid out so much money because they don't have employees to pay out right now because they're shut down. They will have so much money that it's the same thing that happened in 2008 with the banks. But now it's not happening with banks now. It's happening with airlines, and it's happening with cruise lines. It's really frustrating for me to sit back and to be like, man, this negatively affects every person in the U.S., and it's going to make it so much harder to get ahead in the U.S. in the long run. Like, if you thought it was hard now to own a house, or you thought it was hard now to be able to save money appropriately and to be able to gain some money from your money being put in other places, it's going to be much harder. And you have these high-level officials of a cruise line, which, by the way, is not essential travel. I can argue airlines. Anybody can argue airlines.
By the way, the cruise lines get $25 billion.
$25 billion.
That's just cruise line. Oh no, I'm a liar. Sorry, that's airlines. I read the wrong thing. That's airlines.
What's the cruise lines? Because there's three major cruise lines.
They don't have the cruise line one on here specifically. They just have they're put into an overarching thing of loans for large businesses.
Wait, are they still working on whether or not the cruise lines actually get it or not?
I'm sure they do.
They're going to end up getting it. Alone, Carnival Cruise Lines had around $500 million just in floating cash. I guarantee you they were able to pay their way into the stimulus, which if it hasn't been solidified, it will be solidified because we live in a very much corrupt time, in my opinion. To see a 14% dividend yield, which I'm rounding up slightly. The last I checked, it was 13.88 dividend yield the next time that they pay out shareholders. All of these top people on these cruise lines will make an insane amount of money. And it's not like they're going to be like, oh, you know what, we need to make sure to pay out our employees. That's not what they're going to do with that money. They're going to buy a new house. They're going to buy new fucking mansions. And it's probably narrowed down to just less than a group of 10 people who actually benefit immensely. But everyone else has to pay for it. This is my issue with this. When do we as a society sit back and say, people have way too fucking much, we pay for everything? And they literally sit back and do nothing. We pay for everything, and they get everything in the fucking world. So this is my big issue with the stimulus package that has been already passed and is happening, is everybody, and I guarantee you, the majority of people are happy with $1,200. They're like, oh my God, $1,200, that gets me through a month. Man, that pays my rent, that pays my bills, that pays my utilities for the next month. I don't have to worry about it. Whew, and they're praising the government. No, you should be wanting a lot more than that. as opposed to this trickle-down effect that that we've seen, like the Reaganomics, the trickle-down effect where, hey, let's give all this money to the corporations, and it trickles down to people like me and you, people who are watching this podcast, it doesn't fucking happen. We end up paying for everything, even though you physically can't tangibly see it today because they don't go into your bank account and scrape some shit out. It's the fact that your dollar is not worth as much in the long run. We should be extremely frustrated at this. We should be getting at least 80% of the stimulus back into the fucking, just the general population, to where like, oh man, this could go on for 6 months. Do some math and be like, hey, if this goes on for 6 months, how do we keep people running for 6 months? Not the corporations running for 6 months, but people running for 6 months, because it takes people to put money into corporations anyway. That should be the first and foremost idea that our government has, but it's not. It's the complete opposite. I'll let you. I've been talking a while. You can.
Okay. I have and I will put this up. I'll put up the source in the description. I will also put a link to it, and I'll probably put it up on the actual video so you guys can see what I'm talking about right now. But you guys can see that right there. There's a graph showing how it's all split apart and everything. It's actually a pretty good representation showing how everything's chunked up as far as the stimulus package goes. Well, give me a second.
Yeah, no, I'll love to look at it.
No, but so like, and also I should specify that when Jesse was talking about the fact that you should want more, a lot of people hear that, they say like, whoa, I don't want to pay more in taxes. We should not get more than $1,200. $1,200 is plenty. What Jesse is saying is you should want more for the same price of the bill. Like the $2 trillion, you should get a lion's share of that. And you should want more that way. Not saying that we should do a $4 trillion bill and you should get like, $5,000. That's not right. That's not what you're saying.
No.
Keep the bill where it's at.
Keep the bill at $2 trillion.
But your amount should be higher.
Our percentage of the $2 trillion bill should go more to people like me.
I know that that's what you were saying, but I wanted to clarify for...
No, good. No, for good purpose. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Jesus. It's my savior. Just kidding. All right. Anyways, so the large businesses are getting $510 billion. The stimulus checks is $290 billion. And then there's a whole bunch more that goes to other stuff. There's a ton of stuff. There's business tax cuts. There's some unemployment benefits, transportation, welfare. It's all split up. The one thing that kind of surprises me here, especially in a pandemic like this, we're giving $510 billion to large businesses, aka corporations, because they've got a separate one for small businesses here. But we're giving $510 billion to large corporations. We're giving $180 billion to anything health related. So like hospitals, anything health related, which they're running out of. Like, if you look up stuff about New York right now, it is absolutely absurd what's happening in New York. Not enough masks, not enough ventilators, all this different crazy shit at the hospitals. But the fact that we're giving $180 billion out of this stimulus to medical and $510 to large corporations. That's ignoring the stimulus part. Ignore the average Joe. The medical thing alone that's atrocious to me.
Reverse those numbers, and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah,
right?
100%, man. And why aren't these numbers showed on just regular? Continue, Johnny. Continue. Sorry.
I mean, that's about all I had. I'm not going to go through all the details of everything that's broken down here because nobody cares about hearing that many numbers for a billion different things.
Right.
And you guys can look up the bill on your. Like I said, I'll post a link, but you can look up the bill on your own and look at some stuff.
And I encourage everyone to look at the bill, and everyone should know what it's about.
This
and where
doesn't
the
go
money's
into
going.
as much. This graph doesn't go into as much detail as it should.
To what Jesse said, nothing in life is for free, and the implications of how massive $2 trillion is, and we're already $7-8 trillion in debt in the U.S. economy as it is, and you're going to add $2 more trillion to that. Nothing's for free, man. Is it nice to get $1,200 in a time of need? And I think people really do need that money. I think it's very important that people do receive something. When you shut down America and put a lot of people on their knees and ask for a handout, I think it's warranted. I mean, people need money, but even in that aspect, how long it takes. I mean, we're talking three weeks out. This started 2 weeks ago, man. These people are going to be a full month without any money or any income in any way, shape, or form. And I'm pretty sure in the state that we live in, there's been no mortgage relief. Yes, I think if you own a house, but when it comes to people who rent or lease, nothing has came out in Missouri yet for people to say that they can't get evicted.
Which is the poor. The poor always get shit on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 40% of the U.S. population right now cannot afford a $500 random expense.
Oh, we
that they
literally
have to
covered
pay.
this at
That's
the
more
beginning of
than
the
that.
podcast, and
Yeah.
it's like 80%.
Yeah. It's like 70. Last I heard it was 70.
Okay,
but
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, but it's way higher than 40. I promise that, Jesse. It's way higher than 40.
Yeah, it is.
You're dealing with a massive issue, and I mean, at the origin of it, it can only be people who don't understand. Like everything will go on, but they're sitting so high atop that they get to watch the chaos from behind and be like, oh, everything will be okay because we'll restart everything at some point. I don't know. I don't want to go off on that rant
But
just
even
yet.
in light of what I just said, that it is nice that people are getting these $1,200 checks. They don't understand how it's going to affect the long-term gain of the economics of the United States. I mean, is this going to change the price of a gallon of milk that you buy in the store in 3 months or 4 months? Is it going to be $3.89, or is it going to be like $6? You know, like, you can't just print money, $2 trillion.
I don't think it's going to aggressively change.
You don't think so?
No, not that
It
aggressively.
will over
time,
the next 3 years.
Over
it will
time,
over the next
for
3
sure.
years.
How can we print $2 trillion and not have any effects short term?
Well, it's not
No,
that
that-
2 trillion's being printed.
Right. So it's long term. So this checks will help people initially, but then in a couple of years, that's when you're really going to start to see the effects of what this bill is.
That's why we were talking about this costing individuals. The rough math we were talking about at the beginning, about it costing $8,700. Jesse said 10 grand, 9,000. We met in the middle, whatever. The reason for that is exactly what I was just talking about, where you've got so much going to hospitals, transportation, all this different stuff. 510 going to big corporations, like 200 going to small businesses, whatever. And then there's that part that we get, the people, the 220 billion, whatever it was. I had it on here. It doesn't matter. The point is, when you get that 290 billion out of the percentage of $2 trillion that's coming from taxpayers, that's why it's actually costing you more in the end. The money you're getting back right now is more expensive than, it's like taking out a loan, to be honest, with an incredibly high interest rate. It's the best way to describe it. You're borrowing $1,200 right now that you are going to pay back with a super high interest rate. Is the best way to put it.
And that happens through inflation. And what Paul was talking about, like, we will, for all we know, in 3 years we'll be paying $10 for a gallon of milk.
I still think that's aggressive, but
You say that now. We'll wait till everything pans out. I hope it doesn't. I hope I'm wrong, but that's where it ends up becoming. And nobody gives a shit up top because they're being paid off, in my opinion, and they already have so much money, and they can put their money.
They can absorb any amount of inflation.
It doesn't matter because they make money off of inflation almost.
Right. Sorry, Mike.
books keep falling.
Yeah, no, we might have to keep the books down for tonight. Mike Anderson, God bless him. It's frustrating. It is very frustrating how our government takes advantage, in my opinion, how our government takes advantage of times like this to even widen the gap between the poor, the middle class, and the super rich. I wanted to bring this up earlier whenever Johnny was talking about how you become the 1%. And that is very misconstrued because that $400,000 a year thing, I'm talking about the 1%.
Oh, I know.
That
I know.
runs the world, the Jeff Bezos, the people.
I'm just saying that's not what 1% means, but I got you.
We need to not, okay, you talk about a fourth of a person basically out of 100 people. And so there is too much money in the pockets of people who don't give a fuck about anybody else. And I'm a huge advocate for capitalism. I think capitalism works if you have uncorrupt politicians. If you have uncorrupt politicians, 100%, this works. The problem is we've seen it gone on too long to where capitalism has been corrupted, and they have found their loopholes. They have found their fucking way to literally enslave people financially. And we are enslaved financially. If you don't think so, scroll time back right around 60 years, 50, 60 years, and people were able to do a lot more with the dollar than what is happening now. And you could be just a milkman and deliver milk, 40 hours a week. You could pay for college. You could buy a house. That was minimum wage back then. You're like the lowest part of society. You could still have a house. You could still do these things. This is not the case anymore. This is not the case. We are not being enslaved physically. We are being enslaved financially. And this will further the gap and make us even more enslaved, in my opinion. And it's frustrating to watch it happen. And it's happening right now.
So how convenient? I mean, and maybe it's not even convenient. Crises do happen. Infectious diseases do happen within the human construct. I'm actually going to read a book on viruses and germ theory and stuff like that, because I want to be within light of everything that's happened. I want to be well rounded on it. I want to read up on viruses and see how they react with the human body and the type of research that we've done on viruses. So like everyone, all they do right now is consume information on hundreds of different websites. You've probably looked up 50 different websites than I've looked up, and we've all seen so much different information. So I think what I'm trying to say is I want to get down to a point where I'm actually informed on the actual subject on what truly is a virus. Let's take it down to its most basic form and what's causing this disruption within our economic and whatever's causing this right now. I want to know what a virus is.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about right now, Paul.
No, I know. I'm breaking it down. I'm saying I want to get down to.
We know what viruses are.
Do we?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. You can sit there and say that, but have you done any research on virus to say that? You're just taking a scientist's word for it.
That's what research is.
Okay, so I'm not trying to go down this road. All I'm saying is there's plenty of people out there, man, well-rounded scientists, like well-recognized scientists that have done deep research on viruses that how you believe it is the complete opposite. So all I'm saying...
Are you talking about people who are misinformed on the virus? Because that happens often.
No. Okay. So I'm not trying to go down this road. Your scientists are not 100% right, and my scientists aren't 100% right. What I'm saying is,
what are you talking about?
I'm trying to meet. I'm saying I'm trying to meet in the middle, and I'm trying to go down to the very basic fundamentals of what a virus is and read about it. And people who have researched it, and what I'm saying is,
we're just going to have to agree to disagree, because I full-heartedly believe that we as a human species know what viruses are.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, to anyone who's listening to this or watching this video, none of us have probably ever done research on viruses. And if you did, it's probably very briefly. We've never dig deep because we've allowed other people to do that, and we take their word for it. What I'm saying is I'm going to get a book, I'm going to read upon that research and figure out how it works, what it is.
You're going to read a book. You're going to read a book that lines up with what you already believe in right now.
No, that's false. No.
Is what you're saying right now.
That's not
what it sounds like.
That's not what I'm saying. I will listen to anything and everything. I will go both sides of the spectrum. That's what I'm about. I'm just saying I'm trying to understand it and understand why this happened in the first place and why we are in the position that we are in. But anyways, what I was saying is these corporations are taking advantage of this situation. And granted, pandemics happen and we've had viruses. We've had the swine flu, the H1N1 and shit like that. It's frustrating that these people are allowed to do that. That they're allowed to take advantage of this and become even more rich than what they already are.
It comes down to this. I said this on the last podcast, on the second video that we did, or the second podcast that we did with Pat. This is the problem. We do not have a high enough accountability toward the political officials that we vote in. Whether it's left or right, all of them need to be held to a higher standard. This is the problem right now, and we are in a position now where we will see this repercussion of the fact that nobody stepped in and decided, you know what, we need to not rewrite the Constitution, not rewrite capitalism. Capitalism works, but these unpoliced people who are allowed so much freedom up top and are given so much of a position to just be like, oh, you're put in a position of power. Well, now you know it. We put you there, so we know you're of good moral value. They bullshit their way around that. I think everybody here, anybody watching this podcast,
does anybody like politicians?
No, nobody likes. That's what I was about to say. 90. I'm just making up a number. I guarantee you, the majority of people in America recognize politicians bullshit their way into fucking office the majority of time. This is the problem. And the problem is, once they get into office, they got the fucking free and clear. They got the fucking free and clear. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to represent you the way that they explained the way that they were going to represent you through their campaign. Now they get in office, and now they have free fucking range. This is the problem we need to address. We need to hold political officials more accountable for their actions whenever they do some things that were disregarded or that they were just like, oh, I'm running on this. This is my political campaign. I voted you in to do this. How many times do we hear political officials doing the opposite whenever they get in office? This is what comes from this. At some point, we have to realize this is what comes from this. There is not enough judgment for these people in a position of power. They should be afraid almost to be in power, because if they fuck up and they didn't do what they said they were going to do, there should be some consequences. There are never any consequences for anything that they do once they get into office. When have you ever seen a high political fucking official actually fucking have to deal with some shit? I'm not even talking moral. I'm not even talking moral shit.
No,
like,
even when
you're Bill Clinton, you get your fucking dick sucked back in the fucking 90s. I don't give a fuck about that. Dude, get your fucking dick sucked. Get your fucking dick sucked. I don't give two fucks. Run the country appropriately and make sure that fucking people are taken care of. Same thing with any administration. They do not see us as fucking people anymore. They don't. They say they do. They don't. Say they relate, kiss babies on the fucking forehead and all this shit. No. This group of fucking people are worthless on both sides. Republican, liberal, all of them. You want to know why? Because we allowed them to be. And when you allow corruption like this, it happens. It always happens because you have the fundamental human flaw that people fuck up no matter what. Me or you, fucking Paul or Johnny, given enough power over enough long period of time, we will make a fucking bad decision and start abusing our power because now we fucking have this different mentality. It is a human fucking aspect. We need some form of regulation for these people who were in office to where they should be a little bit more afraid about the decisions that they make under the fucking table.
100%.
Fucking
man.
Stimulus packages that fucking come in that aren't fucking good enough, that bail out fucking shit that doesn't need to be fucking bailed out at all, that we end up paying for. We need to get angry about this.
We do.
Everyone should be fucking angry about. Everybody should have been angry like fucking 50 years ago.
Right.
When the fuck do we forget that, hey, this country is made up of people, not of politicians. Politicians are supposed to represent the fucking people. That's not the case. They represent corporations now. We are a corporate oligarchy.
That's what we've been saying for the longest time on this podcast.
Fucking rant.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the only problem with that rant is it just continues and circles back on itself. It's
Right.
super important, but it circles back on itself every time.
Yeah.
When do we as people fucking stand up and say, hey, we hold you to a higher accountability and you didn't do the things that were promised, so now you lose power.
And there
At
are
least
people-
lose fucking power.
There are people out there who actually try and hold people to what they say, but again, we're just past the point of no return. We're past the point.
They regulate themselves. They have to go through the Senate, but they all have to go through the same corrupt fucking system.
Mm-hmm.
It's bullshit.
It is.
We need to redo that shit.
No,
And-
the truth of the matter is, you're at the, like what Paul said, it's past the point to where you're really, if you want like real change, you're talking about, at that point you're talking about, what is the word for it? It starts with T, not tyranny. It's the opposite of that. It's what is that? Like betraying your country. What is that called? Treason. You're talking about treason at that point.
Right.
If you really want to implement change, you're talking about treason. Which, by the way, is what we did back whenever we fought the Revolutionary War against, the British and all that. That was treason.
Yeah. That's the kind of shit that you're talking about. You're
That's
completely
literally
right.
what you're talking about.
And something like what is happening right now might trigger something like that, because this is waking people up. It has to, I mean, again, the amount of information we're being fed, whatever, but people are slowly waking up, and eventually it's going to come to that point. It can't be the grass is green for these corporate elite forever, man. Like,
why not?
Because, again, something like this happening, and if true inflation happens and shit starts to go up and it's not sustainable, then yeah, it's going to affect everyone. And it's affecting everyone right now. You see it across the world and different countries on where they're talking about revolutions might happen in light of the situation, But these people are in power and they're so, Johnny, you made a good point whenever you came over to the house earlier and we were talking about influenza death. And I know a lot of people have said and talked about influenza death, and we don't know the true numbers of what's going to happen with this virus.
Yeah,
right?
I don't want to get into the numbers too much of the virus.
I don't either.
That's a rabbit hole.
But in 2018, 80,000 people in America died from influenza. 80,000.
In 2018?
Yeah.
Okay.
80,000. I mean,
I thought it was lower than that. But
it's
either
80,
way, that's a
80
lot of people.
80,000 Americans died of the flu last winter. Get your flu shot. Maybe it was 2017 because that article was 2018. 80,000 people in 1 year is a lot of people. They didn't put us on lockdown. 80,000 people. Divide that by 12 months. How many people is that each month?
I can't do quick maths.
I can't either. You know, but what I'm saying is 80,000 people is a lot of people. I don't even think we're on pace to have 80,000 deaths in the United States.
I
from
mean,
the
we definitely
coronavirus.
are with these numbers.
If it sustains and if we don't do social distancing. We didn't do social distancing back in this time, 2017 or 18, whatever year it was.
So you're literally backing up then why we are doing social distancing right now.
So what I'm saying is now now the government can put us at lockdown for anything. Anything. Influenza comes in strong this winter, and they're saying it's killing people at an alarming rate. Boom. Social distancing. We're going on a 2-week lockdown. Just like we just did, just like what we're doing now.
Okay, this is one of those catch-22s where I hate the fact that we're quarantining. I mentioned it last week. I talked about freedoms. That was my big thing. Jesse was making some valid points. My big thing was talking about how, this isn't Nazi state, like there shouldn't be any being stuck in your house or not allowed to work or all this different stuff. But at the same time, it is a catch-22, and I understand the other side, which is, if this whole thing is real and you want to stop the spread and it really is, worse than the flu, if this is all 100% a thing, then, yeah, this is stuff you need to do to prevent it from happening, to slow it down. I totally get that.
Right, but we don't do any measures to combat the flu besides
But
getting
the
flu
flu
shot.
might be way smaller is what we're saying. We also don't have a shot for this.
For sure.
We have a vaccine for the strains of flu that we deal with. H1N1, H3N2, I think it is the most recent one, whatever.
But did we have a shot for Ebola or swine flu? I mean, which is H1N1.
Swine flu is
yeah.
H1N1. That's our
But like
most
Ebola.
common. By the way,
you know what I'm
that
saying?
a bunch of these come back, by the way. The flus, like we will get this strand of coronavirus when this whole settles back down and everything goes back to normal. This will become a yearly thing, by the way. It just won't be as bad because we will now have vaccines for it. H1N1, swine flu, is the most common type of, like, people remember that from years ago, from 2009 or whatever it was, where it, like, killed a lot of people and it was real bad and everybody was talking about it. You realize that's the flu that's still killing people today. Like, that's the most common form of influenza right now is H1N1. We just don't call it that anymore or call it swine flu or focus on it because we have vaccines and we have now fought against it and figured it out. But these things always come back. Whatever this virus is right now, this COVID-19, that'll be here forever.
Vaccines for H1N1?
Yeah.
Have you taken a vaccine for H1N1?
Yes.
Have you, Jesse?
I don't know. That's not what I want to talk about right
No,
now.
I'm just curious. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole. I'm just saying that
No.
not everyone's gotten a vaccine for that, and it's whatever.
I don't believe so. I
Right.
don't believe
Okay.
so. I think you're barking up the wrong tree with this whole fucking thing. This whole fucking thing. Whenever you want to get to science and some bullshit, when I'll take it back to where I was. The true origin of all these fucking problems.
Bro, but
unless you wanted,
we've literally been talking about that the past like 4 weeks of the true origins of the problem, bro. We know what the fucking
well, then
origins
we
of the
need to keep
problems
fucking
are.
talking about it until some shit fucking changes. Then
I can't continually redundantly talk about the same thing every week.
Sure,
I cannot do
sure.
it. I'm sorry.
Then
I
talk
can't.
talk about some shit that's so out far from your scope of understanding that you get some.
All of us. That's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to educate myself and get books and read upon this stuff so that way I am educated.
No,
on it.
I believe in scientists because scientists aren't fucking out in my pocketbook out in trying to make millions of dollars.
They
off
are.
Me.
They are. Some scientists are.
Man,
though,
that's all stuff we can talk about later.
No, they're not.
Because
No,
they're
they're not.
because they're funded by the government. A lot of scientists are. And there are a lot of scientists that have come out against the COVID-19. A lot of well-known, recognized scientists that have come out against it as well.
What do you mean come out against it?
Well, just come out and said that social distancing isn't the right form of action. I'm just saying. So again, they're scientists.
So what do they say?
I didn't read I didn't read in detail what it was. I'm just saying I saw the article. I read a little bit on it, and just
but
then-
anybody
from
can
the
write
Onion?
anybody can
The
write an
Onion?
article.
Yeah,
That's-
from the Onion.
No, it wasn't from.
Was
the
it from
Onion.
Vice? Was
No.
it from Vice? Then what
No.
the fuck, man?
I'm just saying that they're.
Which none of them are really credible, but there are ones that you're like, man, I really can't listen to this particular news source.
Well, I will be.
But-
I will do my due diligence, Johnny. I'll send you the link for these 12 scientists who are not against the COVID-19 movement, but or whatever what is going on, but just their opinions on what it is.
I get all that. I just want to. I feel like we covered the virus side of things last week, and I really wanted to focus on the financial side of things, which is what we were talking about: the stimulus package, the corruption of how the stimulus package about how much we are paying for it, and how
For sure.
we're not seeing that because of the politicians, because of the bailouts, because of the stuff that Jesse was talking about. With
The things that I think are really important right now is not COVID-19. COVID-19 is don't get me wrong, something that you need to be aware of. But the problem is everything else that's underlining it. The shit that's happening behind closed doors internationally. This is when do we say we will not be okay with being taken advantage of? We are the people who run this. We are the collective. We are the hardworking people that fund stimulus packages to bail out fucking people.
I don't think that we will. We won't. We'll never get to that point because
we need to back the people in China right now. We need to back the people in China. I hope they keep protesting. Because if they don't, they get shut down. Eventually, it will happen here because the separation between the lowest level person and the person who is fucking everything and is taking advantage of everyone, eventually we need to get to it. It will get to that point.
It will never get to that point.
All
here,
hierarchies do.
It will never.
All hierarchies do.
It will never get to that point because one thing we've held true to on this podcast and we've talked about multiple times is the fact about the comfortability and how much comfortability we have within the United States. Now they are fucking with our comfortability now with these lockdowns and how it's affected each and every single one of us. You know, probably you
No. What they're doing is, and I mentioned this before, what they're doing is normalizing it to where now, whenever what did I say? Whenever this is all done with, people will be thankful.
Right.
People will not be mad. They will be, oh man, thankfully this is over.
Exactly.
Thankfully I can go back to work.
So
thankfully I can make money. Thankfully.
So to answer your question, Jesse, we won't get to that point because they have such smart people who have done psychological research on, you know, the human experiment on us as a 350 million people collectiveness, and they know how to cattle us. We're legitimate cattle, man. That's what we are. We're cows. We're sheeple. Not us. You know, we could say we're woke or we're awoken, and we're not.
I refuse to use that word because
whatever you want
to close in ties with is a whole bunch of conspiracy theory.
I'm sorry, I'm not. Okay,
I'm not talking conspiracy theory right now.
Okay,
I'm
Jesse,
talking about legitimate numbers.
Okay, that's fine. What I'm saying is they will legitimately just keep pushing us and never push us far enough. We understand and we're trying to talk about it, but there's so many people out there who they want that 1% to lead them. They will always want that 1% to lead them. And it will always be that way because they are so comfortable with what is the United States today. There are so many people out there other than Talk Junkies that want to make an impact and want to wake people up on light of the situation of what's going on. But those people want to be led by who is leading it right now. And that will never change.
Hopefully it does.
I agree. I hope it does.
Because it takes all of us. It takes all of us. It can't just be half of us. Dude, everybody you're right. That's the whole thing. Whenever I talk about flipping the script as far as hierarchies go, like corrupt hierarchy will always fucking happen no matter what, given a long enough period of time. That's always been what I've said. Given a long enough period of time with a hierarchy, corrupt up top will happen no matter what. And it's how long can they maintain the flipping script or the script being flipped, and then you have a riot, and then you have people taking over the government, and then they rewrite shit, and then now you have another hierarchy. I think hierarchies are inevitable. But the issue is they've done such a good job to slowly fuck us over so much that maybe we're the generation that comes in and says, hey, this isn't okay anymore, and we're going to rewrite some shit.
No.
I hope.
You don't think?
I also agree with Paul where I don't think so. And the reason I agree with Paul on the reason or why I don't think that's going to happen. And Jesse, I'm
not asking for too much.
Hold up.
I don't think I'm asking for too much.
Let me finish.
I just want political officials to be held to a higher standard.
Okay, if you actually want that then, right?
That's it.
You want that. Okay.
I want them held to a fucking higher standard.
All right, so can I talk now and say what? Yeah. You want them held to a higher standard? Apparently not, because all we do is rant about it and talk about how we want them held to a higher standard, which I agree with you 100%. Like 110% I agree with you. But you know what happens? We go to the house, we drink, and we watch Tiger King on Netflix. We don't call fucking senators. We don't fucking go out and protest and try to get people together and do flyers and a whole bunch of stuff. We're not making a difference. We're just as hypocritical. And that's why, and I'm not talking about just us, everybody's that way. And when I say everybody, I mean 99%. But everybody is that way because we're comfortable. What Paul said. You can rant about it right now and you can get mad about it. And like I said, I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree with you 100%. I'm angry about it too. but we're guilty of it just as much as everyone else.
If we had a larger audience,
we're okay with the comfortability. We're okay with watching Netflix and not giving a fuck about what's actually happening.
we are trying to talk to people within this channel to spread a message, though. You know what I'm
You're
saying?
right. You're right.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say.
But that's about all we do.
Yeah.
Which is not much.
Like,
That's,
do you vote? Do you not vote? I don't fucking know. Guess what? I'm not. I mean, like, we could go out and do some. We can go out and do some things, but we won't fucking do that.
I know that.
Because at some point, you're right. It costs you your life at that point. To
Yeah,
go out and
they know that.
do some things.
And they know that. And that's
So
why I think that things won't change.
So I don't know where the fuck to go from there outside of maybe letting people know, which is what this podcast is about, to say we do nothing. And yet we come here every Sunday and we sit in front of mics and we express our opinions on how the world should be. And my big thing is, I don't know.
Not how the world should be, but just in a general idea of what, you know,
I mean,
just
we
the
get
betterment.
into a lot of shit here.
Yeah, the
We get
betterment.
into a lot of
The
shit
betterment.
here.
I think you're taking what
humanity.
I said the wrong way as well, Jesse. Like I said, I
But
agree
to
with
just,
you. And there's
to just say that, oh man, you're flaky, you're this one guy that fucking.
I'm
know,
not
you could
saying
say
that
all this
you're
shit.
flaky. I'm saying that we are as a people are flaky.
Yeah. I like-
Not you specifically.
this podcast, yes, we are trying to spread a message to better humanity.
With
but
your fucking mentality, there's no point to do any of this.
no. But at the same time, Johnny's right, Jesse. Johnny's right. We could
Then
go
there's
out.
no point to do it. No, then there's no point to fucking
No.
do any of it because
No.
nothing changes anything, right?
No, that's not-
Nothing changes anything.
That's not what he's saying.
You can't sit down and express your shit.
That's not what
he's
I'm trying to
what,
say.
What he's saying is, though, if we truly wanted to make an impact, we would do those things. We would go to Colombia, and we would go to, go to the wherever or go to Colombia and fucking picket and have signs saying that we oppose this and we oppose that. And
Talking about Jefferson City?
yeah, Jeff City, my bad. Thank you. It was close to Columbia, but thank you, Johnny. And we would fucking not riot, but we would protest in Columbia and saying, hey, we want to change this legislation in Missouri. We want to do this. We want to do that. And Pat's on the forefront with that, with this gun legislation bill that I don't know if it's passed. I need to look it up, and I hope it did. You know, that's the kind of shit that Pat's on the forefront. Like, he's actually doing something. He's having people call senators.
I agree
It is
with
better. It is better to plant a seed somewhere.
For sure.
And this is what I truly believe. A seed of knowledge and understanding, and to just plant the seed is the best thing. You're right, because it's not a good time to go out. No individual can go out and fucking do some shit that changes anything.
Yeah. That's all I was saying. You're right in the fact that we do
Fucking
need to
call
tell
me-
people
call
about
me out like I'm.
I
like
wasn't
I'm
calling
wasting
you
my
out,
fucking
bro.
time
he's
on-
mad.
on
He's
some
mad at
fucking
me from
shit.
last week because I did that.
I wasn't calling you out at all. I was literally using an example for what every person does. I think you took it personally when that was not what I was going for. At all. I'm saying that us as a people are
Does-
all guilty.
Doesn't everything start from talking about it in the
does.
first place?
And I'm agreeing with you that it does start with talking about it. And we do talk about it.
Maybe
and
I
that's
took
a
it too
good
personally.
thing.
My bad.
Yeah, it really wasn't meant to be a
I
fucking
might have to
personal
fucking
attack,
hug
bro.
you after this podcast because I'm a little angry at you.
That's fine. You can be angry at me, but I am telling you, hands down, that it was not meant to be a personal attack. And I put myself
And we don't do
in
shit.
the same
and we
situation.
don't do shit.
I said we do this part, we do this. This is a minuscule amount. I'm not saying that specifically about you. I'm saying that about me, Paul, and every person out there. We do something. We are trying to, like you said.
There's a ripple, for sure.
You said plant a seed. Exactly. And that's what I was saying, though. What we're doing is a drop in a bucket. It is a seed that needs to continue to grow and do stuff. There needs to be more. What I'm saying is the fact that I'm not willing to do more right now. Jesse's not willing to do more right now. Paul's not willing to do more. What we're doing right now is a good amount. But the fact that we're not willing to do more means that there's a lot of people out there who are not willing to do more, which is why I agree with Paul in the fact that I don't know if anything's going to happen anytime soon.
Within our lifetime, like you said, that you see it happening within our generation. And I don't think it does, man. Like, it's conspiracy, however deep you want to go. Like I said, I think they truly have had us in their hands for a very long time, man. A very long time. And you really can't deny that. The amount of people that have just been watching the news for such a long amount of time.
I get the anger. I'm angry too. I don't express it as well. I've never been good at, being passionate and expressing emotions about anger and all that stuff. But it's not. I don't know where I was going with that with what you were saying, Paul. Just continue with your stuff because I don't know where I'm going with that.
I don't know where I'm going anymore.
Okay,
either.
cool.
I might have to hug you after this whole thing. That's all I know.
We're gonna bro out.
Yeah.
No. The point I was getting at, man, is that, and like I said, I think you took it personally when it was not a personal attack. I think that
you said what we do is pointless. What we do is pointless.
No,
we just sit around. We don't actually do anything.
No, what we do is
We
a
do a
drop.
lot.
What we do is a drop in the bucket, and you can admit that. You should be able to admit that right now.
We are grains of sand, but the whole point
That's
is...
all I was getting at. That's all I was
Man,
saying.
it sounded really bad the way that you mentioned it.
It is really bad, being a grain of sand in a fucking machine.
Somebody hearing that realizes, oh man, I just need to fucking follow the shit. I just got to fucking do it. That's not the fucking case. It's not the fucking case.
I'm not saying that we should
You're
just
right.
follow
We're
the
not on
shit.
the fucking front lines. We're not on the fucking front lines. We speak a message. That's what we do. We're speaking message and opinions and things we feel that we have a better understanding of a world than what's being brought to other people. Oh God, I'm fucking it up right now because I'm fucking a little heated. I didn't like the way that you came about it because it made
fair.
people feel helpless within the sense to where, man, we just got to let this happen.
That's
then.
not what I was getting at.
We just got to let it
and
fucking happen.
maybe that's my bad for like articulating it the wrong way.
And I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. So that's the only reason why I was upset. But I love the fuck out of you, Johnny.
I guess, and that's where we disagree. Is you said you're not okay with it. I'm not okay with it either, but I'm also a realist. Not a cynicist, but a realist. I know, like, or I think I know. I don't actually know. Nobody knows anything. I think I know how the majority of people work. And it's like what Paul said with the comfort level and what you've even said in the past with the comfort level thing, man.
Man, there's been people who legitimately try to do what we're doing, but they do it on a larger scale, like that guy in Alaska. I forget his name, but he's in a level like whatever military or not. He's in like a level 10 prison. When he was just trying to expose like the corrupt government within Alaska, he was trying to show that within Alaska's political arena that it was corrupt, and he is now in jail for trying to show that. 2 kids, wife, they set him up. He's in jail now for for life, man. Like a very brutal prison. Like
that's the thing is they're gonna do. That's why I said if you actually want to change things, there's got to be some treason there, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not saying that things are hopeless. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying you got to look at things realistically. Remember when Snowden came out and said a whole bunch of stuff? That was a big one, and everybody was up in arms. Everybody was pissed that the government was spying on them through their webcams and stuff. And you know what changed?
Nothing.
I'm not saying it's hopeless. I'm just saying we have to do more, and it's difficult.
Julian Assange, man, WikiLeaks, whole bunch of shit in WikiLeaks. No one fucking blinked an eye on that shit.
I told you, I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying that it's tough. It is a harder fight than it even sounds like. It doesn't mean it's hopeless, and it doesn't mean people should give up and stop trying. It doesn't mean that we should not keep talking about it.
You know what it is? We fucking care. That's the difference.
Is that not the biggest part, that you just talk about it and you plant seeds of the realization of what you're actually dealing with?
Everybody in America was talking about the Snowden thing. Everybody.
Well, I mean, the YouTube community, anyone on the internet and shit like that. But there's a lot of people out there, man, that truly just don't even watch TV. Just go about their daily lives, enjoy their family, don't really fucking care about anything else. Some people don't care about politics, or some people don't care about government, and some people don't care about sports. Like, they literally just live their life. They wake up, they enjoy their family, and they enjoy their time here on Earth, man. Like, not everyone wants to know what we're talking about. Not 100% of Americans want to know that. I guarantee you there's probably a large amount of people that just live their everyday lives just with the comfortability of just living and enjoying their family.
Which is unfortunate, myself included. It's unfortunate.
You know what also comes with some shit? Is that individuals will rise up, and I'm not saying it's me, you, or Paul, that will start heading some ideals that we believe in.
And that would be great.
And we get to back them up. But the whole point is what we're doing here is other people are hearing what we're saying, and they will be able to back them up too because of what we're saying right now.
I agree with you.
It's just, I don't know. I'm sorry. Sorry, I was a little heated. This is not for nothing. This is not for nothing. Sitting in front of this mic every Sunday night, what 2 years ago was such a lighthearted fucking thing, has now turned into so much more, to where you almost feel a little sense of responsibility whenever it comes to telling people how it is. You're not just some conspiracy theory bullshit, which we've done here before too. Which conspiracy theories are fun, but this is happening. This is happening. Everyone's experiencing this. We need to reevaluate how things are done. I'm sorry. I agree. I'm sorry.
I agree.
We need to reevaluate how things are fucking done in this country. It's ridiculous.
But I mean,
the money's spread out too far.
I don't even think you really have to reevaluate. I mean, it needs to be reevaluated, yes. But like, if you go back to the Constitution in its originality, that's truly all you have to really go back to. You don't have to really do anything new. Just go back to what the Constitution really is.
But I mean, that doesn't get rid of corruption. That doesn't get rid of holding people responsible. All the stuff that Jesse's saying, and the whole the gap thing, everything. I literally, the third podcast I joined on for this, that's exactly what I was talking about. The gap is crazy. I mean, to act like I've been fighting for that same thing as well, or talking about the same thing and thinking about it for a long time. It's aggressive and it's too much, and it's like you said, something needs to change. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
The longer we wait on this as a people, the worse it's only going to get. Because guess what? 2008 seemed really bad, right? Now you have 2020. What do we want to see in 2030 with nothing being done to address the initial problem? The initial problem isn't a virus. It's not a virus. It's not a scientific microbe fucking thing that's floating around. It's fucking people. And we are allowing people in positions of fucking power with no accountability whatsoever, that they're able to have free reign to do whatever the fuck they want and fuck us over. When do we get over that shit and say, hey, no more. We're done. And it's not just my voice that it takes. It takes a choir. A U.S., all United States fucking choir to come in and say the federal government is fucking us and we're done with it. We need to change some shit. And this is very much constitutional. I believe in the Constitution.
They're rattling.
I believe in the fucking rights of fucking people.
They're rattling the cage right now, and it's been rattled, man. Like, the amount of people that are affected within this pandemic, it's been rattled for sure. There are a lot of people going hungry right now, worried about how they're going to pay rent. And I'm not trying to justify. I'm not saying that we should not do this. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is they've rattled the cage. When you shut down millions and millions and millions of Americans that cannot work, you rattle the cage. So what I'm saying is, in light of this situation, maybe something good can come out of it, is the fact that they've rattled the cage and affected a lot of people. The government, the governors, the people who are putting these mandatory lockdowns, which may be necessary or probably are necessary, they still are affecting millions of people who are no longer allowed to make monetary gains and do the shit that they do in their everyday life. So maybe those people start to wake up, man, and smell the coffee to what is government. Just saying.
It's going to be an interesting decade. I'll say that.
You're damn right, man.
To polish off everything that I've had to say, I will say this decade that we've only, or like what, 2 months into, 3 months into.
2020 has been a weird year. You remember a couple months ago when we were talking about World War III?
Yeah, I remember that.
We're off of that.
Yeah, big time.
No, we're 3 months into the new decade.
There's no World War talks. There's no Syria talk, no Iran talk, no Afghanistan, nothing. Not shit, man.
So that's my little final statement on this whole thing, is that this decade will be very interesting. So,
hey, Chiefs won it. They started off the decade with a bang, bro. Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl, baby. And what have we always said as Kansas City Chiefs fans? The world will end before we win another Super Bowl. We always said that, but this time we won it.
This time
before.
It's happening.
Yeah, we won it before it happened. So,
well, the world will not end. The world will keep going.
For sure.
World, everything.
The world does not care about humanity. The world itself does not care about humanity.
That saying is that was just a saying, man. That's all it was. It's just one of those things you would say as a Chiefs fan. I'm not saying that that's what it's truth or anything like that, but well, we're at the top of the hour, man. Thank you guys for watching. A lot of information within the context of that podcast, man. I truly enjoy having both of you on, and all three of us, man. We make Talk Junkies. I love it. We may not always agree. There's a lot of times where we get heated, and I truly greatly appreciate that, because that's what this podcast is about.
That's what's good. No, discussion is important.
It very much so is. So again, thank you, my cousin Bobby. I mean, dude, what we truly want from anyone who watches these videos is just please comment down below.
Get involved.
Yeah.
Get involved.
Get involved.
This is all of us. It's not just
Bobby getting involved made Jesse bring a book over here to correct himself, and the same goes for Johnny.
I had to
and
blow the dust off that book because it's been like 3 years since I've read it.
Yeah,
I need to reread it. It's
so
a really good book.
The people who do watch our videos, please comment. Anyone, Carl, whoever. Carl and Bobby's the only two people I know that watch it habitually. There's another guy that we picked up from Truth, Money, Freedom. I forget his name, but he watches a lot of our videos and commented on it as well. Please just comment on the videos, man. Anything you disagree with, let us know. We'll look it up. We'll talk about it in the next podcast. We'll bring it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, hit that like button. To all our junkies out there,
Stay fly and ring the bell.